Welcome back to everyone. Those who are here, as well as all others who are joining us in continuing to understand the very precious writing of Chandrakirti, one who has took a great leap to illustrate some of the meanings and writings of other teachers, such as Nagarjuna, in order to elucidate the meanings that may have some difficulties for people to understand. So, therefore, he wrote this text called Entry to Madhyamika, because there was already the Madhyamika, or middle way, the root Mula Madhyamika, written by Nagarjuna. So it's a much bigger text than this, and he wrote this in order to make it make it easy for people to enter into the understanding. So this has 10 chapters. Each of the chapter is called bodhichitta. Bodhichitta number 1, bodhichitta number 2, because here the bodhichitta means awakening of the heart, It's not some kind of academic stages. It's awakening of the heart on a different level. Right now, what it means, our heart is usually very, very asleep, thinking of me and body and now. So always I want now type of attitude. So when a person is lost in this I want my whatever I want now, this kind of fixation to the I and the me and the mind, and then always wanting so impatiently right now, are the sleepiest thing one can do. So awakening of the heart means to wake up from that kind of a mentality, thinking of myself and my body and now only, is the one that actually lags us behind doing anything useful to anyone, let alone to ourselves. In order to reverse that, one needs to put others first. Instead of I, it should be others. Instead of now, for the future. Instead of for the body, it's for the mind stream. So that's where bodhicitta is the awakening of the heart. The mind that when we awaken, so accumulatively, it will sort of slowly foster the growth in one's mind. So these 10 chapters are designed as the different levels of the awakening of heart as a trainee bodhisattva. Trainee bodhisattva at the very beginning, and then, of course, all of the people who are aspiring on the path are trainees. And the actual people who have taken up the trainee are who have taken the actual formal bodhisattva vows, and then try to adhere to the conventions of the bodhisattva's way of life. So among those practitioners who have taken up the commitment to awaken the heart and put others first and think of the later benefit and think of the benefit for the mind stream and not put priority to the body and the me and now, but reverse the priority. When one is able to do that, then because others are so many, and whenever we do something for others, then even our own usefulness of existence is quite obvious. But when we are just thinking of ourselves, that is cause of all the sufferings. All the setbacks is caused by selfishness and self-centeredness. And even that self-centeredness is only self that is loose, that think it is body. Self that it misidentifies itself with the name or gender or color or creed or one's doings or one's failings or one's success or whatever. So those who are attached misunderstand themselves, misidentify themselves with name and body and the things they do or don't, they will be lost in not awakening the heart. So those who have saw the demerit of self-centeredness and have made a vow with a conscious choice to take up the practice of selflessness, because bodhicitta basically is altruism. altruistically. One makes a vow to pray, to do things for the sake of others. In order to make that happen, one seeks to attain enlightenment, because it's only then we can empower other people to reach that level. So this being the case, among those who have formally taken up the Bodhisattva's way of life, and then have entered the path, have formally entered the path, formality-wise, not necessarily got very far, but they reach on the path of accumulation and the path of preparations. And only after these two paths, accumulation, path, preparations, done, then there is a path of seeing onwards. The many different levels of unfoldings or awakenings takes place. So each of these chapters are basically named out of those 10 bodhisattva stages. So that's why quite a lot of the topics and subjects that we're discussing are quite high realizations. But we will not get used to them unless we read them, we listen to them, and we read again and again, and slowly we develop the awareness of what they constitute. So, continuing where we left last week, we have come as far as the where we are looking at the various fallacious views of a mind-only school. Mind-only school. So because mind-only school has various examples we went through, the erroneous meditative mind, erroneous the sensory mind, and various erroneous views. So we were talking about the erroneous meditative mind has been shown, does not accomplish. So how the meditator who, based on the instruction of the teacher, meditates, and in order to overcome his desire to the ordinary body as objects of desire or pleasure, in order to overcome that deluded perception, he is given the instruction to meditate of the body as none other than skeletons, So when he meditates, when he learns to meditate in this way, then not only the whole place becomes strewn with skeletons, and so the object that one actually views are actually living people, but one can see them as skeletons. And one sense organ that one uses to see them with, all have been somewhat influenced by the power of that suggestion to see them in that way. So it's talking about how meditation can also alter your consciousness. So therefore try to show that the even meditative mind that which sees body as a skeleton is to show that your consciousness can be influenced. There is no truly existing consciousness that sees things for what it is. It can be influenced by depending whether you look at something with desire or whether you look at thing with a revulsion. So the mind can suggest something, and therefore you can perceive things differently. So those were elaborated. Now we move to the second one, which is explaining that at length on page 217, explaining at length. So this is just the last bit of the previous topic, what we're going. Example of erroneous vision. Erroneous vision does not accomplish the point. So this is covered by next two lines. It says, Rabrip tangden wangpo chen chungpa chumbab lungla yida nalo yang. Like one who suffers from eye disease, a preta will perceive a river as a stream of pus. So this is the fourth example. We have done all the first three examples. Fourth example given by the mind-only school, that there is a mind and there is mind and external objects, such as case of hungry ghost, whose eye consciousness sees water as pus. So the actual form is water, but he doesn't see water. Since there is no pus in the water, the external object doesn't exist as a water. But the I consciousness of hungry ghost exists. Hungry ghost has an I consciousness, but the external object, the pus, actually doesn't exist. But yet he sees pus instead of water. In other words, the consciousness exists, which is the why mind only school says that the mind only means consciousness only. They think everything is your consciousness, but the external object doesn't exist. So therefore, how we refute this view is the refutation given by a brief way, because it is similar to the reason given by other cases. The extensive teaching were given in the first analogy of dream. And all are applicable as that. Here too, the mind or the consciousness of the hungry ghost, which sees the flowing river as a pus, should be understood in the same way as consciousness of the sense faculty of an unclear sight. So the people who have unclear sight sees hairlines, even though there's no hair, but the hairline they see unclear. Likewise, the pretas due to their affliction see the water as a pus. This is the same with the case of the floating hair and clear eyesight. The Madhyamika which is the middle way, prove that both the floating hairs and the unclear sight are existent to that vision, but to another vision neither exists. In the same way, in the case of the eyesight of the hungry ghost, seeing water as pus, both the pus and eye consciousness that sees it exists to the vision of hungry ghost. But to the vision of another creature, such as human being, neither exists. That is the final outcome of comparing the mind of a hungry ghost with clear sight. So then I think we'll skip those two and a half paragraphs, argument between Karmapa and Tsongkhapa. They can do that. So we will come halfway on the page 219 to the second half. Just 6 lines of the last second paragraph. In other words, when hungry ghost sees pus as water as a pus, this is like seeing white conch as a yellow conch. The cup filled with water is nominal truth or correct conventional truth, whereas the cup filled with the pus is incorrect conventional truth. The nominal truth has to relate to a mind that perceives things. We can't have generalized mind. We have to depend on a particular mind upon which things are designated. Now, this is very important. Nagarjuna said in the root text that all the teachings of the Buddha are based on two truths. Now, nominal truth has been mentioned. What is nominal truth? It consists of those things which may not exist in ultimate truth, but exist in a human worldly sense. On that basis, even if the hungry ghost sees water as pus, water does not change into pus. The things seen as pus are not correct conventional truth, but incorrect conventional truth. This is not the basis of human conventional truth. We call it incorrect conventional truth because it's for the humans it's incorrect. To the hungry ghosts it's a correct. They can't say this. They don't see it water. For them is what they see is hungry. The pus is that's all they can see. They wish they could see water. They're thinking water, but they can't see water. They see only pus. It's like people are thirsty, but they're drinking alcohol. So their delusion just makes them to go after that. They think that's very much preferred, but they have to pay I don't know how many dollars a glass when your water is free. So they don't know how to distinguish when they are craving. Hungry goes so much craving, so much they can't see even water at all. So water becomes undrinkable. Pus. If we take conventional truth from the point of view of the hungry ghost, the same is applicable to what is seen by humans. In the hungry ghost conventional truth, the cup filled with water is incorrect conventional truth. To see the cup filled with pus would be regarded as correct conventional truth. The teachings were based on conventional wisdom from the point of view of human being. Therefore, the cup filled with the pus is regarded as incorrect conventional truth, and the cup filled with water is regarded as correct conventional truth. That is why Chandrakirti likens is seeing water as past to sight that is unclear seeing, unclear seeing hairs. In the same way as hairs do not exist when seen by one with unclear sight, the past does not exist even though hungry ghost sees it. Yeah, so people see lots of things because they're colored by the delusions, So here it's comparing with us and hungry ghosts. We can see, wow, what a pity. But we have caught a lot of time in kind of certain emotional mood. We don't see. It's all colored by that, and people see things that are totally absent in the object. They keep projecting them, and they see them. Just as the past doesn't exist, the vision of hungry ghost that sees past does not exist in a conventional truth. But you can't tell them it doesn't exist. They say they can see it so well when we can't tell them they are not seeing. They're seeing the wrong thing, because they're so passionate, so driven by the anger, so driven by their jealousy, or so driven by their animosity. They couldn't see anything but that. So we're talking about really how consciousness could be obscured by the affliction. To the hungry ghost, both the past and the eyesight are equally true, Hungry ghost has the eye, hungry ghost can see past. So these are relatively true. There's no difference as far as the object and the consciousness are concerned. Wherever there is an object, there is a consciousness. Wherever wherever the consciousness falls, the object is also false. So this completes the fourth, which is the example of erroneous vision. Erroneous vision of the hungry ghost does not accomplish the point. So with this, we have completed the section explaining that length. So that whole section is a bit too early according to the text, my study of it. So I will go straight down to the last sentence of the second paragraph before the verse. After that, we have summarizing the point. This is covered by 2 lines, which is, it says now, briefly, as knowledge objects, so the mind, it should be understood that both are non-existing. So not just because mind only says there is mind. There's only mind. That's it. That they don't think that the mind itself does not exist. That for them, the mind is truly existing. So that's the fundamental Madhyamika argument: is even mind itself do not exist by itself. So this is the point. This is the point that has been proven in this refutation of the 4 analogies. 4 analogies we went through are the first is the erroneous mind consciousness. We talked about how the erroneous mental consciousness, and so that we covered from verse number 48 to 53. And second analogies is erroneous sense consciousness. We covered that from 54 to 68. And then the third analogy is the erroneous meditative consciousness. That was covered from 68 to 70. Now we come to the last one, which is the erroneous vision of the hungry ghost. Yeah, erroneous vision of hungry ghost. That's the why it's summarized in that 2 lines. It says here, as long as you believe in the existence of the mind, you should also believe in the existence of object. Because if mind only school says that there is only mind, nothing else, how could because of the mind exists, therefore object exists? If the object is negated, mind is also negated. Mind is also negated. So now next comes no evidence for the existence of paratantra. Now this is coming to paratantra, which is a dependent origination. This is another point of view of the mind-only school. They say that existence of a thing called paratantra. That is explained by one verse. Kalde zungmen zimba nyi trashin nyi gi tongbe xiwa yungwe yona dene yobrakange sheparanju masumparanya yuji char mirung. Now, if there is dependent nature, empty of duality, without an object and devoid of a subject, who or what should know of existence? It will not do to say it is, but it is not known. So this is now firstly presenting partly the mind-only school's view. So it was mentioned earlier by mind-only school that there was something called other powered entity, or paratantra. Paratantra is a Sanskrit word. Zhenwang in Tibetan. Zhen means other, Wang means power, powered by the other, which means dependent on others. Now this is being negated. If you mind only school people assert that there is something called other powered entity that is free from the duality of grasp and grasping, how can its existence be proved? No consciousness knows of it because it is free from awareness and what is aware of. Since there is no other thing that is aware of, how can its existence be proved? It is not enough to say that it exists without being grasped by other consciousness. We cannot prove the existence of any external thing that is not produced. Therefore, it is negated. That is why an easy reasoning we give for the negation of rabbit's horn is that they do not exist. They not exist truly because they are not produced. Another proof of existence of something that is something is that it is held by a mind. In other words, that a part of consciousness is aware of it. But in this case, it is not grasped by anything. So you can't say that it exists. It is not valid to say that it exists without being apprehended. You know, how could anything exist without someone apprehending it, isn't it? Like we discover something, not because thing didn't exist before, but nobody discovered it, nobody knew about it. So if there isn't an apprehender, how could thing be? How a thing could be given an existence too? You know, like the planets are given name by people, named after the people who are looking for it. So, without its being apprehended by any consciousness mind, you can't prove the existence of it. In this way, it is explained that there is no evidence of existence paratantra. Second is the evidence of self-awareness. Now, this is self-awareness is you are aware of your own existence. So because you're like autonomous, self-awareness means autonomous existence. Evidence of self-awareness is analyzed and refuted. This has 4 subdivisions. First, self-awareness is negated by its own nature. Second, let's just go into the first one. Self-awareness is negated by its own nature. This is illustrated by one line. Now, that this nature of self-experience is quite unproved, means is not established that it's existence. If you, the mind-only school, say that this other power entity or paratantra exists on the ground that there is something that grasps it, as it is aware of itself, there is no need of any other consciousness to be aware of it. It is self-cognizing. It is known by itself. It is refuted by simple reason that you can't have the existence of self-awareness. Just like this, they say that the sharp knife does not cut itself. Also, the eye doesn't see the eye itself. So self-awareness does not exist by its own nature. Sharp knife can only be proven by cutting something else. Then it's called sharp knife, not because knife is sharp. You can't say it's a sharp knife, but people say, okay, let me try. Without trying, you can't say this sharp knife or blunt knife. You know, so its sharpness is not self-produced. Its sharpness is only dependent on how much it can cut something else. It can't cut itself to prove it's sharp. So the self-awareness is autonomous, like talking about autonomous existence. Because a lot of the time people think it's all in your mind. It's all independently yourself. You know, we don't realize there are many, many hidden factors that makes things appear. We think it's your fault, or it's my fault, all it exists by itself. You know, that kind of a soul creator. You know, and that it they call them the moving the unmovable or something. You know, like they talk about in creation. That there's all things are unmovable, but there's one who can move them. One can move them, you know. That kind of logic is negated here. Through this simple reasoning, this proposition is rejected. Idea that everything autonomously exists, self-existent. When Madhyamika says here here is no self-awareness, the mind-only school will say that there is self-awareness because there are these proofs and pieces of evidence. This will be dealt in the next few verses. So that is, but this is how self-awareness is negated in one line. We just did that. Now negating recollection as evidence of self-awareness explained in 7 lines. Here it says 1 verse and 3 lines. 1 verse and 3 lines. It's correct, actually. But easier to say 7 lines. I call them 7 lines. So let's read that. Kati chidu temba letumna madu truprachacha jebai madum den truprachepa min rangripa ne trupla rameki tedan temba rigmente shenjir mashi yula shiebashi tenzing dine keper takyan jom. Of course. So this is now talking about it, negating recollection as evidence of self-awareness, recollecting something and then think it's autonomously existing. Yeah, this is probably the problem. People remember something, they think that's truly existing because they remember this truly happened to me. This is 100%. This exactly, and therefore they can't get over it. They think they validate it so truly existing. It's a big cause of suffering. They attach to the perception and memory as it's truly existing. They don't realize how much they're compounding it by feeding into it. So this is very, very. Yes, of course, this is what I'm getting. It says, mind-only school says that there is self-awareness. There is this self-cognizer because it is proved to on the basis of the memory of one's own mind, because one can remember. This is like remembering one's mind after dreaming something. So the mind-only school argues that you can remember dreaming, and even after a dream, you woke up, the dream is still there. So the mind-only try to prove that there is mind in the dream because we remember dream. We remember dream. In the same way, they say that there is self-awareness in a case where you saw a car yesterday and today you can remember seeing the car. Yeah, so now, of course, this Madhyamika philosophy, of course, argues that, is your memory of the car, is the car that you saw. Then you don't need the car at all, you just have a lot of memories and... And you remember something, usually you remember 2 things. This is very important. You remember 2 things. You remember the mind that is aware of it and the object that is grasped by the mind. Yeah, so the 2. In other words, you remember yesterday's mind as well as yesterday's car. The point that mind-only school is presenting here is the memory of the awareness, and this is where the memory is a problem. For most people, think the memory is what's the memory, and they think that's the truly that exactly happened. They say, "Oh, that's happened. That's your experience." Yeah, that's your experience. Since there is memory of yesterday's awareness, that shows that awareness took place yesterday. You might admit that awareness existed yesterday, but how can one prove self-awareness? Self-awareness is proven since we remember awareness because we remember something only when it is experienced. When we remember yesterday's car because the car is apprehended by the mind. There were many other cars, but you didn't see all of them. You would not remember those you did not see, only those that were grasped or apprehended. When you remember yesterday's car, naturally the mind is apprehended also. So you're basically apprehending the mind that remembered the car. Remember the car. Who apprehended the mind? Now that's the whole thing. Who apprehended this mind that remembers the car? That was your own mind, no other mind. Not your past mind. In that moment, your mind has apprehended itself. That is why there is self-awareness, self-cognizing. This is mind-only arguing, yeah? So that's their argument, okay? Now the Madhyamika is just the middle way, because this is whole about how to not go into the room of the mind-only school, but try to go into the mind-only school. So the middle way school is next door, but that is maybe a tiny room, people don't find it. But mind-only school very big, with people go there. He says, come over here. People they all go into this. Madhyamika is very soft-spoken, Madhyamika hasn't got a radio station or something like that. Madhyamika people have very few people talking. Madhyamika says that it gives memory. This gives memory as a reason. But according to Madhyamika, memory also needs to be proved. That is why it says unproven that needs to be proved. Memory needs to be proved just as self-awareness needs to be proved. The unproven that you assert as a proof does not prove anything. Because the fact that sound is produced is not proved, It cannot be proof of impermanence of sound. Only the sound is proven to be produced. Can you take it as a reason, and by that reasoning say that sound is impermanent because it is produced? While it remains unproven, it cannot act as a proof of anything else. In the same way, it is the same in the case of memory. Suppose the self-awareness were existent, it would still be acceptable for the memory to remember the self-awareness, because memory and the self-awareness are now separate, according to the mind-only school. Again, it comes down to the issue of production from other. Because this the whole chapter, whole section we are arguing it's negating the production from the other. Negation from the production from the other. Madhyamika reject this from the various points of view. Let us presume that self-awareness is present. But still, you can't prove self-awareness by memory, because memory is the mind that remembers something. Remembering something is not self-awareness. It has remember something. Oh, let me think. Self-awareness doesn't say, oh, let me think, oh, not that one. All these things it has to talk about and has to, eliminate one by one. See? The self-awareness was yesterday's mind. You consider these two as separate because each moment of consciousness is considered to be separate. Not only separate, but also separate by its own characteristic. When two things are separate, one cannot remember the other. One cannot remember the other. Like the book can't remember this glass, because self-awareness has to be mind. It has to remember itself. So it has to be remembered. If it's present, if it's permanent, it can't remember, because remembering is not permanent. If you remember something, it's impermanent, isn't it? Because you forgot for a while and then you're remembering. So self-awareness is that almost like it has to be permanent, Memory is impermanent, because when sometimes comes, sometimes goes. You can't remember something that you have not experienced. You're remembering experience. Experience is not self-realization. It's an experience. So when somebody is talking about experience, they're not realizing it now. They're remembering. They call subsequent cognizing mind. They're subsequently remembering something, and so it's not self-aware. They have to remember quite a few things to remember the whole story. So therefore, they have to depend on other things. So it's not self-arising, is it? It's dependent on other things. You can't remember something that has been experienced by somebody else. Yeah, that's right. What you experience and your present memory are separate. Even if they are the same stream of consciousness, what you were aware of yesterday and what you are remembering now are separate. That is why you cannot remember self-awareness, because they are inherently separate. So this is negating self-awareness. This reasoning, this is not just argument between mind-only school and the middle way school. This is very, very big. If you subjectively look at it, when you remember something that happened to you, and then this thing, this is me and my experience as truly existing. That's where all the problems are substantiated. And they say, this is your experience. And then one can't switch that off. One just keep repeating, keep replaying that mind again and again and again. They don't realize how much of that delusion is creating, mountain out of a mole, So this is how the mind gets so lost in its unresolved issues of things as if truly existing, as one suffered because of that experience. I have this experience now. suffer now because of that, what that happened then. So one realizes, one actually mistakenly thinks it's due to that. One doesn't realize these are totally two different things, There are connections. Of course, there are lots of connections. Why don't you make other connections? So this reasoning that they are separate destroys all other characteristics, it says. The reasoning disapproves all other claims. The distinction of being in the same mental continuum is also destroyed. It's not in the same mental continuum for the reason that they are inherently separate. They are separate. But when one is... Why we have to say, what the teaching has to say they are separate means don't lump them together. Human beings lumping everything together, aggregating them together as it truly exists. They don't realize how many separate entities are composed together, comprised together, and bring a production, But so therefore, they are inherently separate entities. But we just make them together, like matter. We put many things together. When two things are inherently separate, the same mental continuum has no force, and therefore such distinctions are destroyed. It's refuted by this. This completes the negating recollection as evidence of self-awareness. So it doesn't mean we don't have recollections. It means that recollections is not an evidence of self-production. It doesn't mean it truly exists, because your thought and your recollection of that is different from what actually is, what actually was. Because what was didn't rely on recollection. Now what it is talking about is, I don't have a reliable memory or something. They realize quite a lot of the things that they're remembering is missing. Even if what they remember are still really important, many of the things they remember, important things to remember, are not there. So therefore negating recollection as evidence of self-awareness. Self-awareness meaning people believe what they think is true. So this is try to see how unreliable our memories are, and then the mind that remembers the memory is not self-awareness, and so therefore these are totally dependent, totally different, two different things. It's almost like trying to refute the wrong view, thinking what is happening until now is nothing to do with what actually happened. It's not that it is not dependent on each other, but it's not self-produced. So third is the experience of recollection is acceptable in one's own school. So this is how the experience of recollection is acceptable. How it can be used as an acceptable one. Third one, this kanchir kanki union kyurdele temban dishengala yumimba teje ngai tonyam changyurde dianjik den tanye tsului. For us, the thing that now recalls its object is not in fact distinct from that which in the past one experienced. For our part, we agree with ordinary convention. Memory is thought that I have seen. So this is talking about how relatively we rely on memories of the past, and so in the conventional worldly truth, how it is accepted. So in our own school really means Madhyamika school. If you are subscribing to it, it doesn't have to be your school just yet. But we're trying to get in that admission into that school. It's very difficult to get in. In one's own school means Madhyamika school. Madhyamika is saying that recollection of experience is not possible in mind-only school, but is possible in the theory of Madhyamika school. Because the mind-only school got weakness of mind-only, you see. Madhyamika school, everything's possible. Everything's possible because of a dependent origination. But when you say it's only mind, or only say self-awareness, then you're basically eliminating all other possibilities, Because what is interdependent has many possibilities. With there are more possibilities, anything can happen. Because emptiness is possibilities. That which is emptiness has all possibilities. But when they say it's mind only or self-awareness, then it limits the possibilities. So the memory has a function in our Madhyamika school. This is because that which experienced something previously and present memory are not considered as a separate in our view. Therefore, Madhyamika's doctrine, it is possible for me to remember what I experienced earlier. This is also accepted in the worldly and nominal system. In other words, for those schools who believe in previous experience and present memory as inherently separate, there is no possibility of this memory recollect the previous experience, because two are inherently separate. On the other hand, Madhyamika school does not believe in the inherent separateness of the two things, because they are dependent. Yeah, so they are not two separate things. They are very much dependent on each other. It's not, one is not by anything by itself, but when it's next to something, it is something, and when it's not next to something, it is almost nothing. so that's so that's always, everything is totally fluid. In dependent origination, everything is very, very fluid, because if anything else comes, this whole thing changes. Because the thing itself doesn't have any inherently existing thing. It was totally dependent on other things, So that's why for Madhyamika, who believes in dependent on other, remembering experience is possible, because it's remembering past experiences. But you must know that this is only in the worldly nominal truth, because in the Madhyamika school, it is trying to show there's two truths, nominal truth and ultimate truth. This is not so in ultimate truth. This completes the recollection of possible in one's own school. When it says possible, meaning it accepts a relative truth, on a relative level. Because most of the time, Madhyamika school is talking about what is ultimate, and why it's wrong in a relative level. But this way of looking at what is on a relative level, and what is a relative level, and what is the ultimate level. So that's what is coming now up. Fourth is summarizing refutations, others' theory. That is explained in one verse. Teche rangri yopa mayin no, kyuji hyawang kangi zimbargyur, chibole dan chawa chigmimbe dengi kieden zimbarig mayins. If thus reflexive self-awareness, see, reflexive self-awareness, it sounds like a kind of a tautology to me. If thus self-awareness has no true existence, no true existence, what cognizes your dependent nature? Yeah, because it can't have true self-existence. Self-awareness does not exist by itself, because what recognizes the self is it has to depend on something. So what cognizes your dependent nature? So it's a question. Indeed, the agent, the object, act are not single thing. Thus, the talk of self-experience is not acceptable. So it's rejecting that. Like this refers back to the other power entity which we talked about, paratantra. Since you cannot prove the existence of self-awareness, who is going to apprehend your paratantra? This self-awareness is not possible because the agent, the object, action are not same. That is why this paratantra cannot grasp itself. It's dependent origination. If the mind apprehends itself, which means it is performing an action upon itself, that means the action, the doer, and the thing that is acted upon are the same. Since this is not acceptable, the theory that it is apprehended by itself is not possible. So this autonomous self-production is not accepted. But it is therefore if it's dependent, and then it's not self-production. So this paratantra that mind-only school accept as the basis of all other phenomena cannot be proved to exist because no consciousness has apprehended it. It cannot apprehend itself. When it is not apprehended by any consciousness, its existence cannot be proved. This complete evidence of self-awareness is analyzed and refuted. Self-awareness is refuted, basically. Now the third one is refuting the notion that it exists without any evidence. This is explained by one verse. Kalte kewa meching mashipe dakchen xiong ngui yona kanki nande yopar mirikpa xienla mosham che no chishikcha. If unknowable and unoriginate, which means unproduced, dependent nature has a true existence, why don't you accept the childless woman's son? Wherein has he offended you? So this is not to this is to refute the notion that it is existing without evidence. If you means mind only school, if mind only school insists in believing that this paratantra does exist, even without any evidence, without being produced and without being apprehended by any other consciousness, why don't you say that child of a barren woman exists? Why don't you accept childless woman's son, wherein he has offended you? Should be understood in this way, because if you insist that paratantra exists, even without any proof, why don't you also apply this to the child of the barren woman? It should be applicable to all other impossible things, such as rabbit's horn or space flowers. Why don't you say that these things exist too? What makes you differentiate this? What harm did the child of a barren woman do to you that you don't accept it, and yet you accept paratantra? The point is that there is no proof of paratantra either, so why accept it? So this now completes the negating substantial existence paratantra free from duality. After this is the third, which is negating the cause of the existence of imputed entity. Imputed entity means labeled things that are labeled. We have completed negating the existence of paratantra. Now we are negating the cause of the existence of imputed entities. We are not really negating the existence of imputed entities. We are negating the inherently existing imputed entities. Yeah. So because it's only the imputation only makes existence, that is not therefore self-existence. Kade shewan chungse yomina kunzo pai gyune kangshinkyur. Shengi tana zela chakbai jikden tabe namsha kunjala. Yeah. Since dependent nature are not even slight existence, what then is the cause of relative phenomena? Because you are besotted, I think besotted means attached. Because you are attached with substantiality, means that things exist by themselves, you gainsay all the facts of ordinary life. Your gainsay means you refute all the facts of ordinary life. You refute. Gainsay means ordinary. Yeah, refute all the facts of life. After this analysis, you reach the point where you can't prove the existence of paratantra. Since paratantra does not exist, what is the cause of all conventional phenomena? Either mind only, you said that the cause of these worldly phenomena or appearance is paratantra, and that out of this arise all the grasping and grasp and so on. But it has not been proven. So then, what is the cause of conventional phenomena? It is just that you are very attached to something substantial, and you go on accepting these substantial entities without having any proper reason. In doing so, you are losing all these things that are accepted by the worldly mind. Mind only school that there is mind, but no external object. Now that's the problem. That's the problem is, while mind-only school has a great emphasis the mind exists, but it doesn't want to give any credence to the existence of phenomena as a dependent object, but no external object. There is no grasping, no grasp, only the mind. So that's what really they're trying to say. If they were able to prove the existence of this non-dual mind, this mind that doesn't do apprehending or grasping anything, but it's just the mind itself, because they can't prove. If they were able to prove the existence of non-dual mind, these will be able to cling to this mind. They will be able to cling to the mind. Yeah. If their mind that is non-dualistic, and then that's the only mind, if they can see, then they will have to cling to that. But this mind has not been proved. in the course of trying to prove something substantial, which is this mind, they have ignored what is accepted in the worldly mind, which is all these grasped and graspings and all these dualities. So meaning the subject and object, yeah. Grasped means object, because like this is glass case, spec box. What is called this spec box? Yes, this is not truly exists. It's only what we can remember the name. Can call this plastic. We can call this all sorts of things. But we have conventionally correct. Have to conventionally correct with this glass together. But otherwise, who knows what the damn is in there? So it's totally it's dependent on number of factors. Grasp, and then this is grasped, and this mind do the grasping. So all these dualities, you and me, he and they, and here and there, good and bad, tall and short, us versus them, gain, loss, friend, foe, all these are dependent. There's nothing, no one is truly friend, no one is truly good, no one is truly bad, no one is truly in these things. And so that is what it really means. In other words, they have lost contact with what is seen in the worldly sense. If you lose conventional truth, which is the workable one, which actually works on the relative level, you cannot prove your interpretation of ultimate truth, yeah? Because you have to rely on the relative truth all the time. Keep the relative truth always in your hand. In this way, you have lost both. You have lost the significance, the meaning of both ultimate and conventional truth. All of this comes under the heading, this under the heading of the indicating failure in two truths. So that's what we are talking about. Now, second one is fault of failing in the true truth. So not knowing the true truths. Because that's the second. The first one we went through previously, verse number 48 to 78, was indicating the failure in the true truths. Failure in the true truth by the mind-only school. Yeah, all that reading we've done thus far is showing the failure of the true truths because of the mind-only school's interpretation. Now, what's the purpose? What's wrong with being failing in the true truths? Because all the fault comes from failing to see the true truths. This is shown by two verses. So this is now going back to Nagarjuna. Madhyamika is what Nagarjuna propagated. So Chandrakirti now goes back to say why Nagarjuna emphasized to understand the true truth, to understand the emptiness. Otherwise, people think people misinterpret the emptiness nihilistically as empty of nothing. So they don't realize that this true truth has to be understood. So that's why the failure in the true truth with the other school is they don't look into the true truth, relatively speaking, and hence that's the problem. So now the second is fault of failing in the true truth. I think that's the first two lines. It says, except the path expounded by honored Master Nagarjuna, there is no means to reach transcendent peace. He says that's really big point here. Because what Chandrakirti is doing is the mind-only school lost the understanding of the difference between conventional and ultimate truth. So the disadvantage of losing this understanding is, the disadvantage, Chandrakirti says, is that whosoever strays from the path shown by Acharya Nagarjuna, so because people haven't heeded to the writings by Nagarjuna, whoever fails to understand the true truth has no chance of gaining liberation. So this who has a lot of the other Buddhist schools, lots of Buddhist schools are included. Those who take things literally wrong. This is because nominal truth is the means or method, and the ultimate truth is a result of that one. So that's we have said there is no means to reach transcendent peace. Means all others fail to grasp the truth of suchness and conventionality, and therefore liberation lies beyond their reach. beyond the reach. The reason why they couldn't reach the liberation is because they haven't understood the true truth. Tanye denpa tapsu gyurwa tang, tendam denpa tapjung gyurwa de, tenyen name kangi misheba, tenen namdo yuebe lamngen shu. You see, conventional reality therefore becomes the means. Means relative truth is the means to enable to realize the ultimate truth, it's not one is against the another. You must rely on the relative conventional truth. So it becomes the means. By this means, this relative truth, ultimate is reached. You can realize the ultimate truth. Those who do not know how these two differ err in thought and take mistaken path. So that their understanding of the ultimate truth will be wrong because they fail to know the characteristic of ultimate truth, and their understanding of conventional truth will be wrong because they have not understood the correct practice. They are imputing wrong theories. This state is called entering into the wrong path. This is what the mind-only school is doing. So this is Madhyamika school is implying all the other lower schools than Madhyamika, particularly mind-only school, because mind-only school is school's view is should be understood, but also one must understand the problem of its use of the word only, mind only. So mind only makes it almost like symmetry, like created by one. Mind is the only creator type of thing. So dependent or Madhyamika is talking about the dependent origination. What is relatively dependent origination is ultimately empty of inherent existence. So the relative conventional truth is relatively dependent on various things. Whatever is dependently arising, like say this is a book, not because it is book, but it's dependent on many other factors. When it has all the factors that is definable as a book, then it is a book. Yeah. So, but whatever is relatively imputed and bounded as many pages together and have a cover and all of that, and someone who will look at it and buy it as a book, when you have those kind of people, then you succeed to sell a book. Otherwise, people might want to go buy a loaf of bread. But why they don't buy a loaf of bread thinking it's a book? Because there's no book in the loaf of bread. But there is a book in the book, Well, they're only relatively speaking. But those who don't want a book, they don't want to buy a book at all. Even if you're given a book, they don't want to pick it up. Why? No, it's not because it's a book, but people have to want it. This is why relative truth is dependent origination. That whichever is dependently originated, it is relatively dependently originated. Relatively, it is a book. But if I tore it apart before you can touch the hand, there's no book. If it's independently, permanently, inherently existing, I cannot do anything with the book. I don't know whether it's a book or table. I wouldn't even know whether the demarcation between the book and table. What is the book is stuck on the table? Someone offered it a couple of days ago. His Holiness Dalai Lama, a big offering. The offering was a big tray, the tray. In the tray there was big wheel of Dharma, big wheel. It's a Gyuto monastery. They made him a long life prayer or something. They offered him a big tray, and His Holiness was sitting there with thousands of people. They offered a very special offering, big silverware, 8-spoke wheel of Dharma, which was really impressive. And then there's on one side there's Vajra, one side there was a bell, and. It was really funny, and they left it on the throne, and His Holiness was very pleased. He quickly picked the bell to ring, but it was stuck. Bell was not bell. And His Holiness, he says, this is not real bell type of thing. yeah, it wasn't ringable bell, It was stuck. They just made it as a statue, as a kind of a special offering, which was bell and silver. They all look beautiful. There's no doubt about that. But it's not truly existing bell. Because when you want to ring the bell, you can't ring. But it is a bell, yeah. It's a bell, yes. But wasn't able to ring. so he saw this, touch it, and he couldn't get it. He says he did this. He did this to the crowd. This is not a bell. I was saying that, wow, what an interdependent origination it is, There is no bell even in the bell. Because it is stuck. It is stuck on the thing, and you can't ring it. So the bell has to be ringable, isn't it? Particularly if someone touches. But I was saying there, wow. I was thinking, try to madhyamika everything. Try to middle way. Oh, there's no truly existing bell. So what they did, they thought they were for a great thing, but his holiness said there was nothing. Yes. I'm sure some of the monks would have thought, would have good if there was a real bell. He could ring, It would be very auspicious. He rang the bell, but no bell. Oh, I was thinking, whoop, that was not very auspicious. Not inherently, by the way. It's quite interesting. So if one thing is missing, if one thing is missing, it doesn't work, If there's a small crack in the contrast window, they wouldn't fly. See, if there's a small crack in the aircraft, all the jumbos are grounded. It's like that. I mean, it's not all of them can pretty fly, but that this is how our world does that, Because they think it's truly existing. All the jumbos can't fly because one has this crack. It's so grasping. It's so grasping to good aircrafts. That is, this is, one may ask what Chandrakirti really means is that when he says that whosoever goes out of Nagarjuna way does not have any chance of liberation. Yeah. Is this not talking about liberation as an ultimate sense? Even temporarily, if you get fixated with what is, what isn't, and this is it by itself, and this is not to do with anything to do with that, when they cannot relativize, when they cannot see how they are mutually inclusive, then they try to be everything is exclusive. When they try to think it's exclusive, that's where the problem lies. Yeah, so there are two ways of explaining this. Tibetan word for liberation is Shiva. Shiva means peace. Shiva means peace. Here, they have translated it as transcendent peace. Transcendent peace. The meaning is liberation or nirvana. And nirvana means absence of sorrow, or putting out the fire of sorrow. Nibbana means to just to put out the fire, because if your sorrow comes from grasping things as real or independently truly existing thing, and then one has this aversion to something, ill will to something, because one doesn't plan to have sorrow, but the not knowing what is what makes oneself full of sorrow. Nobody intend to have sorrow. May all beings be free from suffering and the cause of sorrow. Even those prayers are not being heeded to. Why? Because they don't have the awareness that sorrow is caused by wrong views. Sorrow is not caused by people. Sorrow is not caused by incidents. Sorrow is caused by the invisible incident in the head. Yeah. Sorrow is caused by the invisible incident, which is the wrong view. Wrong view causes sorrow. So one who understands the password can undo it. The nirvana, this teaching in Madhyamika is the password. How to not stay in sorrowful state. How to undo the thing. How to undo the problem. Instead of thinking it's truly existing or independently existing or permanently existing, one thing it's dependently existing. Everything is dependently produced is necessarily impermanent. Whatever is produced is necessarily impermanent. Whatever is impermanent don't exist at all from its own side. Relatively, it exists. Yeah, Jumbo can fly 20 years. After that, whether they appear as crack or not, they'll sell to the third world country. They wouldn't say that, of course. There's a crack, we want to sell it to you. all the planes in Nepal and Burma is second-hand aircrafts. when there's a little crack in their country, they wouldn't touch it. It's interesting. Yeah. So the Qantas always think they have the highest safety record. They are truly existing safe airline. Until they detected one crack. So, whosoever does not follow Nagarjuna's path, in other words, middle way, will not go towards the Mahayana path of liberation. Yeah. So here there's a bit of he will not become a Buddha. Yeah, he will not gain enlightenment. He will not become enlightenment. But as for Theravada liberation, meaning Sravaka liberation, Khenpo used the term Hinayana. In the early days, Tibetans didn't know this, how derogatory that term is. In Tibetan, it's a Tikpa member. Tikpa member says inferior vehicle, worse than a small vehicle. Inferior vehicle, Tikpa member. It's amazingly condescending. I don't know. I think it defeats the Mahayanas. There is a prayer going. Yendu Tikpa member some number kundung gaktosos. May the thought of the inferior, vehicle's attitude never arise in my mind. These kind of prayers. Actually some Mahayana prayers, it says that. That shows they didn't travel very much. They just in their little village, inward looking, and us and them. So there may be a possibility of reaching this even without following the path of Nagarjuna. You may follow Vasubandhu or some other master's path mentioned in other schools and gain liberation in the Theravada way. So this is Khenpo talking about, because Vasubandhu, even though is a great Buddhist scholar, but is regarded by Mahayanis as more adhering towards the Theravadan teachings. Anyway, some Tibetan scholars believe. Now we have to read this part. Some Tibetan scholars believe this, but Korampa is the main 16th century very famous Sakya scholar. Who Khenpola, who's taught this, relies all the outline and the thought, his interpretation. Korampa differs on this point. According to him and many other scholars, the word translated as transcendent peace here refers to all states of liberation. Liberation of the Theravada, liberation of the Mahayana, liberation of three vehicles. When they refer to liberation three vehicles, they refer to Shravaka vehicle, Pratyekayana vehicle, Bodhisattvayana vehicle. They don't treat Vajrayana as a vehicle in the old classical Buddhist texts. The three vehicle refers to the Shravakayana, which means hearer's lineage, and the Pratyeka Buddhayana and the Bodhisattvayana. Middle way. All those realized beings, whether in the Theravada or the Mahayana, such as Shariputra or Moggallanaputra, who are realized in the Theravada way and fully realized being like Buddha, are considered to middle way realized according to Madhyamika school. They call that those who realize through the Shravakayana and the Pratyeka Buddhayana, so they're both called little Buddhas, little realizers, and the Madhyamika Mahayana ones are called the middle Buddhas, and fully enlightened one is a big Buddha. Some are on the Madhyamika path, and some are Madhyamika realized beings. Path doesn't mean they are realized. We could be said we are on a Madhyamika path because we adhere to it, we accept that, and we believe in that. But doesn't mean doesn't mean those who are on the path are necessarily realized beings, isn't it? Realized beings on the view. All are in the category of Madhyamika. If you're not following Madhyamika, you have no chance. But if you talk to our Theravadan brothers, they 100% say they follow the middle way. They don't say they follow some lesser vehicle. It's others telling them that they follow something. Everybody says Buddhist path is middle way. It's just the word Madhyamika itself seems to be sort of monopolized by the Mahayanist, and the Theravada doesn't know what to use. Can we say that? That's how they say no. That was propagated by only Nagarjuna. Come on, what did Buddha teach? Come on, teach us. What did the Buddha teach? Nagarjuna came in 2nd century. We honor that. We accept he was fantastic. Yeah, but he is not the Buddha, is he? So what are you talking about? Why are they talking about Nalanda Panditas? Why are they not talking about the Buddha? Why are they not talking about the Buddha lineage? I mean, that will solve all the problems, isn't it? Because Nalanda is just tiny plot of land, which is now just remnants. There were many other universities in India, not just Nalanda. Some were much earlier than Nalanda, and some much later. And why we are only talking about Nalanda? And this is a little bit sort of a kind of sectarian, I think, way of looking at Nalanda Panditas. Nalanda Pandita only. Because if the Madhyamika means the middle way, and our Theravadan brothers and sisters, whose number actually much greater than the Mahayanists, by the way, in all the Southeast Asia, they all believe they follow middle way. The Buddhist Society of London, one of the earliest Buddhist society in the West, called their quarterly magazine Middle Way. Good on them. Good on them. They should take ownership. Middle way. The Tibetan Buddhists has this kind of a feeling that they have the monopoly, because they are the only ones who honor teachers like Nagarjuna. But the Nagarjuna should have wrote some amazing texts and so on, but he's actually explaining something what the Buddha explained in the other teachings. The Buddha's teaching is all Madhyamika anyways. So why we are talking about Madhyamika being promulgated by only Nalanda Panditas? Are we forgetting where the actual source of the river? Are we talking about where the river is largest? Where the river is largest, we talk about that, and we don't realize where the river actually trickled from. Actual Madhyamika was taught by the Buddha, middle way. So I think in this time and age, we need to go talk about Buddhayana rather than even Nalandayana is not necessarily interestingly important. It's very important to honor those scholars who wrote beautiful texts, and so we can study like this. But where did they get it from? So we have to find where did Nagarjuna get it from? Nagarjuna get it. Buddha himself prophesied Nagarjuna will come. Otherwise, the greatness of Nagarjuna is not that great. We authenticate Nagarjuna's greatness by quoting the Buddha. What did Buddha teach? He just quoted Nagarjuna, saying Nagarjuna will come, he will teach. I don't have time to teach. I don't think so. How many of the arhats, how many of the pre-Nagarjuna Buddhist saints got realized arhathood? What did they do? Eating nettles and then they got enlightened? Or what are we talking about? They would have practiced the middle way. So, but it's okay, it's okay for different schools to have a claim on various adepts of Indian teachings. But it's really important in this time in age, in 21st century, we need to go direct to the Buddha and rejoice everyone in between, anyone after that. That is why in the Pranjaparamita Sutra it is said that without perfection wisdom there is no hope. Perfection wisdom there is no. But if you read some of the Theravadan sutras, they may not use explicitly perfection of wisdom, but they are saying the three characteristics of path is dukkha, anitya, and anatta. There is suffering, impermanence, and emptiness. So where do they talk about emptiness? Emptiness is the gist of the teachings. ones. Whoever wants to become a Shravaka Arhat must depend on the perfection of wisdom, and likewise those who aspire to become Pratyeka Buddha Arhats. That's actually true. So that means this is a correct way of saying even the Shravaka Arhats as well as the Pratyeka Buddha Arhat, who are all Theravadan Arhat, also realized by practicing perfection of wisdom, which is the middle way. With respect to the middle way and the Prajnaparamita, one is the object and other is the realization. They will say that the realization is perfection of wisdom, but the object is the middle way. So this is particularly scholastically distinguishing that, because when they say in Tibetan Uma and Parchin, Uma means middle way, and Parchin means perfection of wisdom, and they actually are very complementary, They are very complementary. Their class is different. People studying 1 year Uma or another year Parchin, but they're basically very complementary. They are not different subject at all. They're both complementary. All the Buddhist texts are just overlapping so much. That's why we don't know how to organize the textbook. If like modern, we definitely would reorganize all the textbooks, not just keep them books, but cut and paste them and put them in different ways. So we might ask whether this means that someone who follows the Theravada line should also follow the middle way teaching. That is not necessary because the middle way approach has different degrees. Just now we are dealing with emptiness meant for practitioner of all vehicles. So all special emptiness meant for Mahayana practitioner alone will be dealt with the end of this chapter. By accepting all these things, mind as well as external objects and conventional truth, you are free from extremes of nihilism and negation. By negating true existence of self and phenomena, even in the Theravada, you are free from extremes of eternalism. Even one who is on the path of Theravada must be free from the two extremes. By pursuing the path that is free from the two extreme, one will reach the state of Shravaka Arhat. See, so that's the whole thing. So all the point of denigrating or putting down the lower Buddhist schools are only for the intellectual reason, only to train our intellectually. It's not really telling this school never get there, we only get there, that kind of thing. This is, of course, we shouldn't be interpreting that way. Of course, there are many all the Sarva Arhats, who reached by realizing this middle way, this very middle way,
It sounds as if we're talking about an inherently existing middle way, but I'm getting the impression that everything that you're trying to explain now, it's dependently originated in terms of the realizations of the various classes of realizers, that it's also dependently originated. And
exactly. Yeah. Because there is no inherently existing middle way. So therefore it's very important that even middle way is dependently originated. It has a middle way is aspired by Shravakayana, Pratyeka Buddhayana, Mahayana, and they all realize they may use slightly different conduct and discipline and meditation and some kind of a mode of practice, but they all aim to put out the suffering. Put an end to suffering by not holding on the wrong view. So they're not holding wrong view just to oppose the other. So therefore they all are attaining the liberation, So even to attain the Theravada Arhatship, one must follow the middle way, which is the path of Nagarjuna. So this is Mahayana way of saying it. How about those Arhats who became Arhat before Nagarjuna came? So that this is completely tattered then. This whole argument will be gone away, because how about all the pre-Nagarjuna Arhats? Are you saying there were no Arhat before Nagarjuna? That meant that the first 600 years there was no Buddhist Arhats. They were all waiting Nagarjuna to show up. That's not the case. Mahakashyapa, Aswajit, Kaudinya, all of those got arhatship within the first few sermons. There was no heard of Nagarjuna. So what he's talking about? I think some of this kind of dialectical languages, they got used like that, and they never thought of in other contexts that we're in a totally now open field of the Buddhist world, that they don't realize there were many arhats. Even Tibetan Buddhist says, such and such was the arhat. There are these many arhats follow the Buddha. This many arhats flew with the Buddha from one place to another. But they was never heard of Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna came. 400 years, 400 years after Buddha passed away, so that's a long time. Second century, it's Nagarjuna 2nd century, so there are two opinions about this within Tibetan Buddhism. One is the opinion expressed here, which in accordance with Gorampa's interpretation. The other is that there is no need to follow Nagarjuna's philosophy in order to become Sravaka Arhat, which I agree. You can become Sravaka Arhat by studying and meditating on Vasubandhu's Abhidharma Kosha. In the same way, you can study and meditate on the Yogacara school's texts and become Pratyeka Buddha Arhat. Some connect these different schools with the different levels of realization. Madhyamika with the fully enlightened Buddha, Chittamadhyamika with the Pratyeka Buddha, and Vaiveshika and Sautantrika with Sravaka Arhat. But Gorampa does not agree with this. According to him, wherever you are, you need to follow the middle way. So I think Gorampa's views is a bit more inclusive. I think that's really quite liberating. That's why his interpretation became a very refreshing kind of like a revolutionary, because it wasn't quite us versus them. He says, as long all who realizes are necessarily following the middle way. So he doesn't say it has been necessarily post-Nagarjuna. Post-Nagarjuna maybe champion writing it that way, but there were many who practiced that even without heard of Nagarjuna. Nominal truth, conventional reality, said to be the method for realizing ultimate truth. Now, by nominal truth, we are referring to correct conventional truth. All conventional truths are not nominal truths. All conventional truths are not considered to be methods for realizing ultimate truth. The incorrect conventional truth illustrated by the false philosophical notion imputed by the heretics, and also the false visions of the object seen and apprehended by mistaken consciousness are also conventional truth, but not correct conventional truth. So, they are not nominal truth. Therefore, they are not methods for realizing ultimate truth. This distinction should be made between the relative and ultimate truth. I think what this kind of scholastic writing on the theory of different schools' point of view is not just to familiarize the various different doctrines or different tenets and what they said, but what is the wrongness of such views that we ourselves hold? Some of the pains and different difficulties, suffering that we do not know how to put out is conceived by the wrong views, not knowing they're wrong, So their whole point is how what kind of views we are holding that is actually the wrong view we do not know is like mind-only school, or like saying that something exists from outside by itself, Often we do. We have this wrong view. It's all what they did to me, It's all what happened to me, or what they did to me. They just think we have just played no role whatsoever. It's all what they did to me. So they give total credence to what they did to us. So all our suffering was produced by them. They don't realize that we have any share or doesn't have to take the share of the suffering if we predispose differently. If we have the right view, we can see the interdependence of everything and then undo some, modify some, and produce it, and then vary the product. There's a lot of variations, The variation in your order is depending what size, what color, what made, what year, what design, like that. There's not just one thing. There's not one thing, just what we ask. But when we think that something is unitarily existing, meaning it exists by itself, we had no role in it. It's your father is what he is because the way he is, instead of thinking because what we think he is, we don't realize what we think is often make him look like what he is not. We don't realize how much of our imputing of him, or believing him, or remembering him, or falsely remembering him, makes him as that. We don't realize how much of our own labeling someone or something appears the object as a result of our labeling. But we think it's independently exists. It's nothing to do with the label I gave. But people don't realize how many repeatedly they thought about the object many times that way. That stigma then makes the object look like it exists from its own side, So this is talking about whether it's a erroneous sense perception, erroneous meditative perception, erroneous kind of mental perception, erroneous sense perception with all those wrong views. It's because what is the erroneous is the one who has a particular optical problem, sort of eye problem. He sees hair dropping, hairlines all there, not because it exists. But why doesn't he see trees? Why he see hairlines? Why doesn't he see other things? So whatever he sees is a problem. But most people who see things is not a problem. They're happy what they see, not because they are real, not because they're real, but because he's among the minority who sees a hairline. Therefore, it's a problem. People deliberately look in the mirror to look at all the hairlines over the head. So during that time, there's no problem. So that shows that how much is designated by us, partaksam, merely labeled by us, imputed by us. When we impute something, because it's dependent on our imputation, when we say he's my friend, then he looks like a friend. When I don't know him, then he looks like we don't know him. It's so that he's completely at the whim or mercy of what we call. He knows you should know him, but he says I don't know him. Gosh, he should say I'm his friend, then I'd be saved. But he says no, I don't know anything about him. Like that, like that. There's a lot of dependent origination. When we are able to see this, then we are talking about how to enter in the middle way means how to not suffer. How to not suffer by holding the extreme wrong views. But if one knows the wrong view is wrong view, and then one knows how to negotiate with that, and then sort of lighten one's grip, try to unmute the grasping. Mute the grasping, and then slowly it doesn't look like it. It's just like a person who woke up from the sleep. He knows, it's just a dream, but he still hasn't quite woken up clearly yet. He's still thinking. He's still before going to work. He's still thinking about the dream. I don't know what my day is going to be like. That was a horrible dream. Some people have that. Yeah, some people just don't want to get up. They don't want to go to work because they had this dream. So, and some people have got very good dreams and they get really excited. They try to piece all this together and they can see all sorts of things happening, even though nothing's happening. But because that's what they're interpreting. So how the role of how many views and opinions that we adopt, and so when it says, if people who would regain liberation, transcendental peace, is when they let go the tight grip of the wrong view they have. But they have to know it is wrong view they are tightly gripping on. If they don't know it's a wrong view, Of course, they have to be conscious to know it's a wrong view. Most people are not holding wrong view, thinking it's a wrong view. No way. They say, my view is right. That's why they're debating against each other. And the other one thinks their view is right. Other one thinks their view is right. Both are right, but neither is seeing their own wrong views. Both are seeing each other's wrong views. So they both become hungry ghosts, There's pus all over the place, This is pus all over the place. Neither can see the water in each other because they can see only the pus. And it doesn't have to be philosophical. Sometimes like that, two people arguing, they're just so pushed, and they were pushed by each other by unconsciously to this extreme hostility. They just completely lost their plot, and they don't see their father or father as a father. They just have this. They see this amazing kind of angry man or dominant man or who want to control me. When a person thinks like that, he is truly existing aggressive father. And father thinks this, this ungrateful, brat, never listen to his father, how dare he do this? When he thinks like that, he looks like more ungrateful baby. The son looks like very ungrateful, It both just the things that manifest, And then there is no lovely boy or no dear father. There is two hungry ghosts who see pus all over the place each other. So it's not talking about hungry ghosts so much that when we predispose with that kind of craving to be loved or respected, if a father wants to be respected by the son, no matter how much son shows respect, he can't see it. It's that bad, He wants so much unconditional respect or something. However much the son is trying, he doesn't see that how much son is trying, But when the father is very grateful, how respectful and thoughtful and how helpful and how many things his son does, when he starts thinking like that, even the son does a very little, but he still thinks his lovely son, His lovely son. It's amazing. So one just see this when the love overrides the hate, then the object looks very lovely, It doesn't matter if they make something, they make blunder something, mistake something. It's totally okay because my son, they say. Yeah. But when he thinks he's a son, it's okay. But when he thinks it's a terrible son, then it's not okay. So that's what we're talking about when we lose the right view. When we lose the right view, kind view, compassionate view, and dependent, say, how I see is not just how he is, but how I think of him. If the person thinks like that, then he says he doesn't think what he sees is exactly what he is. He thinks what he sees is how I think of him. Maybe I'm a bit domineering to him. If father thinks like that, he backs a bit. And then straight away he can change his style and then perceives something different, When one is able to do that, then there is a peace. Because then one is dropping the wrong view, dropping this rigid, fundamentalist view, I'm right, you're wrong, you're not listening to me. When he does that, doesn't matter, no matter what sometimes it's like policing is like that. Police goes and straight away, they think that someone is suspicious. All of a sudden, they want to handcuff them, And they don't actually ask a nice, gentle question. Oh, where are you going? Can I see your ID or something like that? No, they first wanted to cuff that person's hand, then ask for ID. Of course, most people resist. Why you want me to do this? And then they say that, you're resisting arrest. And then things become, there was really no problem. They just were a little bit suspicious because police always see things, That's what the police mind is. They always see things. That's bit of a hungry ghost. Hungry ghosts always see pus everywhere, He want to drink water, but he can't see any water, It's amazing. So they always see someone suspicious. But the person hasn't really done anything yet. They can't prove. But the way they treat it is just flare up very quickly. very quickly. You can see quite a lot of those things. If there was a sort of gently saying, "Oh, how are you today? Can I check your ID?" I think people would go perfectly fine. But straight away brings this thing and stick and this like that. People feel really alarmed and they just out of animal instinct, they straight away wanted to. So why me? Why are you doing this to me? They don't think, they may be looking for a suspicious person in the street, so this is the police, so I should cooperate with him. If they thought like that, then the police would not look very aggressive, They both are very, very kind of sort of aversion to each other, They say, there's a cop. They've got to find some kind of enemy of the society or something. The cop means those people who do bad things, they call it cop, But those people don't do that. There's a police, secure law and order people. It's good. They're walking up and down so that everybody's safety is ensured. They're not really trying to beat everybody up. But those people who have animosity, aversion to them, they think like that. They straight away wanted to challenge them or do something and not cooperate them. Even if they did, okay, what are you after? Do you want to cuff me straight away, or do you want to see my ID first? It would be good. So you can quickly sort of calm down the police. Do you like to see my ID first, or do you really want to handcuff me? If you handcuff me, I can't open my wallet. If you said that, the police will smile, I think. Which is quite true, Now, if you do this, then how could you bring the wallet and show the ID? It's all about how quickly things can flare up, wrong view, by doing that. Even in interpersonal things, when people misunderstand each other so quickly, with neither of them have the ability to downplay that, you thought this, but this is not, this is the way. And then quickly the problem if they say, you can transcend the problem. Bring peace straight away. Not some kind of ultimate nirvana, like this book is talking about. Talking about small nirvanas, small nippings, small nips, small sort of, what do you call, extinguishings. Small extinguishing the flare-up problems. When one is able to do that, and then, of course, we are not talking about some tenets or schools or entering into one school. It's just how the mind is not falling into extreme views and staying in the middle ground, safe for them, safe for oneself, safe for both. And behavior of the one who understands the philosophy of middle way is necessarily compassionate one. So if the person understands dry philosophical views, tenets, dialectically, but behavior itself is not calm or not compassionate, then what is that view for? Teach in some university or something, It's not that. It is actually said that the behavior and meditation and philosophy has to be complementary, Has to be complementary. That's why they say, you should be non-violent and so on behavior-wise. But when they teach the middle way. Philosophy is the middle way. Behavior is non-violent. Meditation is calm abiding. So, in order to get the mind to realize the need to practice compassion and contact-wise, then the middle way actually informs oneself to do that, But when one is using the very philosophical tenet to divide us and them, and then very aggressive, that's violence. That's a polemical violence. All those polemical writings that divided schools and make very, very sectarian. This is a form of violence to me. I can't handle sectarian writings. Almost like wish I can just skip them. You should see I have highlighted. I just don't skip them. But some, So for the very studious dialectical school, it's necessary, because they have to know this. But for average person, it's more important what is the gist of all this tenet system is. What has it got to do with how to practice kindness? How does the Middle Way School helps? Even your kindness you practice to someone, which quite a lot of people do. People practice kindness. That's not really usually the problem. But because they think their kindness is truly existent, and then they get attached to their kindness. And then they become attached to kindness as truly existing. That's the problem. That's why they have to understand these kind of views. They must practice even their kindness is only interdependently kindness when you're working to somebody who's suffering. When you're helping to show kindness to sentient beings, then only you have an interdependently produced kindness. You can't say, I'm kind today, and sit there. As if you're a kind person, say, I've recited 200 million Om Mani Padme Hum. Most people are not saying Om Mani Padme Hum. They're saying Om Mani Padme Hum. They mainly think I'm poor me. Oh mani poor me hung. Oh mani poor me hung. Please have some kindness to me. It's not like that, It's even our kindness. If we don't see poor sentient beings, difficult sentient beings, we haven't got a chance to practice kindness. So our kindness, however much we have learned through books or study or prayers or religious chantings, but it's not kindness, it's still untested kindness. The kindness is only kindness when you deal with difficult sentient beings. Then you practice kindness. See, your kindness is also interdependently originated. Even when you do practice kindness, you still have no reason to get attached to it as mine. If you get attached to it as mine, it doesn't transcend the ego. So the kindness, it should not only be practiced, but it should transcend the ego. It should feel, only through suffering of sentient beings, I can practice kindness. So our kindness is not truly, even kindness is not inherently existing. Kindness is dependent on the sorrows or sufferings of others. And when we can, usually we cannot practice that because we haven't got the merit of practicing kindness in front of difficult sentient beings. We thought the merit was some practice. Our meritorious kindness is to practice with someone who's just as nice as you are, just as nice as you are to each other. Then you practice kindness. But there's no need for kindness. They're just as nice. They don't need your damn help. Your help is needed by very, 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 very severe sentient beings who are really in difficult times. And if you predispose compassion to them, see, your compassion is interdependently originated, not inherently produced by you. See? So then we cannot get attached to my kindness because we are developing, we won't develop grasping to it because we know the philosophy. Then every time there was a difficult time, then you realize, do I now have the merit to practice this? Yes, I should try. I should give it a try. This is a damn great opportunity. So if you can be saying it to yourself, that means pretty good. This is the type of situation where your kindness should matter. Why kindness matter is because there's so much suffering. Kindness has no place in nirvana. Kindness matters because we are in samsara. Which so many sentient beings have so much suffering, and if our kindness is not manifesting with those situations, then definitely our study of the doctrine and philosophy is just dry academia. There is no relationship between the conduct and philosophy, and of course there mustn't be any meditation. Because without meditation, we don't. And the penny doesn't drop. It's in meditation the penny drops. Those teachings is to help me to practice tolerance or whatever, and see them as interdependent originated, and not develop grasping either to my virtue nor show aversion to their problems. How they are mutually inclusive. mutually inclusive, and dependent on each other. So medicine is only medicine with the illness. Medicine is not medicine without illness. Lots of medicines are sitting in the cupboard, and they're expired, because there's no illness. A lot of people, the medicine cupboard has medicine that are all expired, and if expired, they got it last time, and they took a couple of doses, and then they don't need it to sit there. Now it's 3 years, 4 years. They forgot to put them away. So check carefully whether they're medicine or not, especially expired dead. See, even medicine is not independently and truly existing. When you think like that, then we understand the dependent origination on a practical level, really. Then we are really entering middle way. Middle way means that we don't feel the chill of extreme views. As we're not exposed to this extreme that, we know how there's some kind of solace, there's some kind of peace. There is absence of aversion and enmity and craving and discontentment. And you don't just write a couple of paragraphs on middle way and you get a mark. That's not the case. We have to how to unsit those sufferings as cause of sorrows. Then the middle way has empowered us to combine compassion and wisdom together, not one without the other. Then this kind of teachings is at the very beginning was paying homage to compassion. It didn't say I'm paying homage to middle way. Pay homage to compassion, Pay homage to compassion. So that this is the tool. This is the kind of a mixer. This is like the mixer that makes the kind of constituent to enable us to become compassionate. Usually we have this feeling that the compassion is sort of something we have in our bag that is ready to use. No, your compassion has to be tailored according to the sentient beings and their complaints. And that means that our compassion is almost developed as we go and cut and piece and modify according to the pitiful sentient beings. This kind of versatility is where compassion is developed. Compassion is not a ready-made thing that you bring and then apply. An understanding of the sentient beings and their sorrow and almost feeling yourself being in their shoes then empowers us to dispense the necessary compassion and with wisdom. And with no feeling that I rescued them or I did the help. One doesn't, well, because of their sorrow and suffering, my miserable compassion has been developed. My miserable compassion has been developed as a result of this. This ability to practice is the great teaching of the Dharma. So therefore, one has amazing increasements of joy with the increasements of faith in the Dharma, and that is the sweet. The suffering working with sentient being is the bitterness. Bitter and sweetness go together. Working with the bitter things, then things become a little bit sweet. But if you just have sweet every day, it's not so interesting. A lot of bitterness and then little sweetness all of a sudden. A lot of bitterness, again, a lot of sweetness. See, even the sweetness is not independently existing, let alone the bitterness internally. See, then, now you actually know how to concoct. Now you're a real medicine man. You can really compound the medicine. Is how many of this, how many of that. Then it's become real medicine, Because otherwise, too much of this, not enough that, might be poison. See, absence of the wisdom makes our sorrow too much of poison. And then we lose our temper. We think, why me? Why poor me? And then becomes, when we have a little bit of merit here, we say, myself in this, but in comparison to those, in relation to this, it's really manageable. Come on, make good use of that. When you do that, and then we straight away, because we are learning to adapt our own mind, minus the ignorance, minus the selfishness, and minus the mental formation caused by them. Because when you reduce the ignorance, mental formation of the ignorance will be reduced. And what that reduces ignorance is wisdom. So wisdom increases, mental formation of wisdom increases. When the mental formation of wisdom increases, then the consciousness becomes more consciousness, more conscious. Consciousness becomes more conscious. Conscious of the interdependence, conscious of the interdependent, conscious of not truly existing me who's fixing all the problems. Consciousness of almost lack of inherent me or what I do, but dependent on what I can do in relation to existence of these factors, and it becomes exhilaratingly challenging, and demandingly difficult on the spot. But when you get to know the right mix to apply the compassion to the sorrowful sentient beings, and with oneself with wisdom not to suffer because of one's wisdom, but compassion to see the suffering that others are not coping, and then one is protected by wisdom, and other person is protected by compassion. See? This is the middle way. Middle way is where union of compassion and wisdom is oneself. It doesn't suffer, poor me, I have to do this all the time, or there's a thing like that, because there's no me, that truly, really easy. It's at all. But only in relation to someone, we are something, someone, But if they don't exist, we are nothing. That kind of humility. Therefore, makes ourselves, Shebe sila mination, due to wisdom, one is not tainted by samsara, one is not tainted by samsara, Because of that, due to compassion, one is also not stuck in nirvana. Yeah. So because of that, the relationship with the middle way and compassion, and how much of that can be then boosted by meditation. If our meditation is practiced, then these two are boosted, not just philosophically, through experientially in meditation. So we will stop there. Thank you, everyone. Your attentiveness is very important, and listening and talking about Dharma is the one of the two of the great 10 activities that are recommended. So there's a lot of merit. Thank you, everyone, and may you stay tuned to middle way thinking. And always. Okay, let's do the dedication merits. Oh,